Alert. President Trump set to travel to the NATO summit in Turkey. He leaves later tonight. And this comes as talks with Iran on a temporary pause as hundreds of thousands of Iranians filled the streets for the funeral of Iran's former supreme leader, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. But notably absent was the regime's current supreme leader. Nobody's seen him since last February. Let's bring in retired General Jack Keane. He's a Fox News senior strategic analyst. It's great to have you here. President Trump is on his way there. Lots to talk about when they get together in NATO, but let's start with Iran and where you think we are right now.
Well, certainly we're in the beginning stages of a major diplomatic effort here. Likely the clock is running for 60 days, but I don't think we'd be surprised if it went beyond 60 days. The Iranians are masters at negotiations and extending negotiations beyond the terms and deadlines of it. So yes, what has happened here obviously is the military objectives were overtaken by political and economic objectives. That became the priority, given oil and gas prices, and that produced the phase that we're in. President Trump is trying to accomplish everything that we were going to try to do militarily and do it through diplomatic reasons here and negotiations. And there's three things here. One, the entire nuclear enterprise no longer exists, nor the potential to recover it. And two, restrictions on ballistic missiles and stop the support for proxies. Those are major, major goals that we were attempting to achieve militarily, and hopefully that can be agreed to diplomatically. I'll tell you, based on the evidence so far that we have from the Iranians in terms of how they're still contesting the Straits of Hormuz, and obviously 8 ships turned around on Saturday based on their intimidation and coercion. President Trump has had to pull the trigger twice recently in terms of military attacks to get their attention because of violation of the ceasefire. We have reports that they're recovering the nuclear program at Pickaxe Mountain, and that's supposed to be the status quo. They're also recovering their ballistic missile program, and according to the agreement, the ceasefire, we stay at the status quo. In other words, we're not doing those kinds of activities. So it questions the sincerity and determination of the Iranians here on a diplomatic effort. My own gut feel is I think the Iranians haven't changed one bit. The people have, but the ideology and the tyrannical, radical behavior of the regime,
actually, sir,
I think is much the same.
In the time that we have, I just want to show you a very quick clip from some of the people in Iran who were out during the funeral over the weekend. Watch here.
Every single one of these people will continue down his path with clenched fists, and soon we will certainly avenge his death against the U.S. and Israel. We will stand and fight for this country as long as we are alive and until the last drop of blood. We won't let even an inch of this soil be taken away. We are not here to say goodbye to him. We are here for revenge, and we will take revenge.
So obviously there are a lot of different voices within Iran. That's not representative of all of the people, but it is a strain of some of the people there and how they feel, to your point, sir.
Yeah, well, the Iranians can bruise tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people, stooges for the regime for sure. I think we've seen plenty of evidence to the contrary. The surveys, about 85% oppose the regime. And we saw when the demonstrations began in December 2025 over economic reasons and what the regime was doing to them in terms of their everyday life, 200-plus cities received demonstrations in tens of thousands, totaling millions of people. And I think that was much more reflective of where the people in Iran really are, and certainly testimony to that was their willingness when the regime began to repulse them with gunfire. They stood there unarmed, and somewhere in the neighborhood, estimates are 30 to 40,000 of them were horrifically killed by these barbarians. That is who the people are, in my judgment.
General Jack Keane, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll talk to you as the president gets underway on his voyage to Turkey for the NATO summit. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great talking to you, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.